Yeah, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We're still kind of dissecting that loss to Hofstra. So before we look ahead, let's start with that. When you look back on Saturday, what was the most concerning thing from a Syracuse perspective that you saw in that game?
What was the most? Here's what I will say was a concerning thing. So the Syracuse's starting guards got outscored by 19 points. I think J.J. Starling and Nate George had 15 total points. J.J. had all of them. And the two guards from Hofstra had 34 points. So having a 19-point differential between the backcourt scores is pretty concerning. That's the number one thing I would think at this point.
All right.
From that game.
Yeah, from that game. How about on the other end of the court? You know, we keep hearing about the level 5 defense, and we've seen it, right? We saw it against Houston. We saw it against Tennessee. We've seen it at other points throughout the season. Last two games, not so much. What do you credit that to? We know that there's an illness going through the team. But, I said to Paulie, I thought the St. Joe's game kind of would have been a wake-up call for that. Okay, you didn't play your best. You were sluggish. You still found a way to win. For it to happen again against Hofstra, to me, that was a little concerning. And to let them shoot it as well as they did from three-point range. What do you make of the defensive effort these last couple of games?
Yeah, so I just started rewatching some of the game, and some of the threes they got were wide open looks. And, obviously that's a concern because before this game, they had been pretty good at defending the three. So I don't know if they just weren't paying attention. I'm not sure what happened in terms of who got shots and who didn't get shots and what have you. But I just think that they did a really nice job of finding guys in good spots to score, which is something that Syracuse really didn't do, in particular in the second half. I don't know if I've seen a better guard than Cruz Davis. And I've seen 10 games this year. I'm talking about in person.
Yeah.
He just played really, really well. He shot it. He drove it. He found open guys. He was just really good, and they just could not figure out how to guard him.
Yeah, the singular focus for this team, it feels like in this town, is make the NCAA tournament.
Right.
What does this loss, in your mind, do to those chances? How does it change what they need to accomplish from here on out, in your mind?
You don't want to lose to Hofstra at home. It's bad. I'm not going to deny that, but it's December 16th, so I don't think it's too early to call the season at this point. There's plenty of opportunities out there, especially since the top half of the ACC is better than it was in seasons past. So now at this point, you're in control of your own destiny, and you have to go out and win some games, and you cannot lose another one of these games. I would be somewhat shocked if they lost to any of the opponents they have before Cornell. None of those teams are all that good, but once you get into the ACC, you have to make some noise and have to beat some of these teams. And again, there's teams that are in the top half of the league that are going to offer a lot of opportunity this year.
Nathan George wasn't in the game at the end against Hofstra. What do you make of him so far this season? Do you think his illness played into that? Because he was one of the guys we heard was sick.
Yeah, so I wrote about Nate George after the game, and, I think he's just an interesting conundrum, really, at this point. I was just rewatching the game, and he really has to do a better job of making people guard him. He's kind of dribbling out above the free throw line, and he's not really getting inside to the painted area at all. And nobody's guarding him because I think he's shooting 28% from three when he has it from the deep perimeter. So, I don't know what to make of him. They need him to play better. They need him to score, certainly. You can't have your point guard score 0 points. And I do think, I talked to him about being sick, and he said he felt better on Saturday than he did on Thursday, and he played better on Thursday when he was not feeling quite as well. So I don't know. Listen, everybody has bad games. Everybody has stretches where they just don't play that well for whatever reason. But I think he's had a period of 6 games where he just has really struggled, and I'm not entirely sure what they're trying to do with him or what he's trying to do when he's out there.
When Hofstra went zone, for people that have played zone, or coached zone, did it seem to you they really struggled with that?
Yes, and there was one play once they went zone in the second half where they got the ball, Kyan Anthony passed the ball, made a little leaping pass and passed the ball to Sadiq White at the high post. And at this point, Sadiq White is going to make make his defender make a decision. And Syracuse did not do that nearly enough. And on that play, he scored it. But on that play, say the help defender had stepped up, he could have dumped it off to William Kyle underneath. They just didn't get the ball. They didn't attack the middle of the zone nearly enough. And Adrian, I think, said something after the game about that they had preached to them how they wanted them to execute against the zone, but they just didn't do it.
And we're going to assume that opponents moving forward are going to play some zone after seeing what Hofstra did to him. How much does Donnie Freeman help with that? If it's not a matter of if, we've been told. When he comes back, how much will he help against the zone?
Well, you hope he can bang the ball in there a little bit better. I mean, I think William Kyle's been open. They just have missed him inside on occasion. I think that they will have another guy who can score on the interior. And he's a guy who's a threat from the three-point line. He hasn't shot it great, the very limited chances he's got. But let's face it, this team is shooting 30.5%, something like that. They have not been a very good shooting team. So if they're gonna get zoned a lot, I would think. I mean, although I say that, but not a lot of teams practice zone, not a lot of teams play zone. So it's very unlikely like a whole bunch of teams are going to throw a zone at them because they're just not going to really know how it works or how to move, et cetera. But they'll probably be zoned for some possessions this year, I would think. Yeah.
What is your feeling about when Donnie's going to come back? You probably heard us ask Coach last week on this show, will he be back in time for Clemson? And he was non-committal on it, but we know he's out of the boot now. We know he's been working out and so on and so forth. Do you think we will see him in that Clemson game or even prior to that Clemson game?
Well, I think ideally you'd like to get him back before Clemson. You don't want him just to throw him out there against Clemson. You'd ideally like to get him back for Northeastern or for Stonehill I'm doubtful that he's going to play this week, but I mean, you never know. Injuries are just a really tough thing to figure out. You don't want to jeopardize this young man's career or jeopardize the rest of the season. I mean, you don't want him to go out there too soon and then tweak whatever his issue is and make it worse, and then he's got to sit out for 8 more games or whatever. Right. I mean, you want to make sure that when he comes back, he's healthy and he's able to withstand the kind of pounding that you need to withstand when you're playing in a game. So, I mean, I know fans are anxious to get him back. I think, that after they'd gone through the gauntlet of Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Tennessee, at that point, you got a little bit of a cushion. I mean, it didn't work out against Hofstra, but I think he was sort of the least of their problems against Hofstra. Although he did not rebound it all that well on the defensive boards, which he would certainly have helped in that spot. But I mean, you've got a few games where, you can kind of ease them back into, practice, going full speed. And again, the worst thing that could happen is he comes back too soon and then he really hurts himself. So you don't want that.
Yeah, and our chat's a little, negative about the possibilities of him coming back. You were there early. I was there earlier. He's working out again. He's shooting. He didn't do it last game, but he did the game before. He's moving and out of a boot. So I can say that with confidence.
He's moving in and out of a boot, but we don't really know exactly what. I mean, I think all of us have an idea what it might be, but none of us have been specifically told on the record what it is. So I would say, like I said, just you don't want the kid to get hurt worse. You just don't.
Yeah, no, that's a fair statement. Paulie asked you about what do you make of Nathan George. I'm going to ask you about the other starting guard. What do you make of JJ's season to date? Obviously, got off to a slow start because of his injury, but he scored between 10 and 15 points every game. But it's been an up and down season to this point, I guess, for JJ. What do you kind of make of his start to this year?
Well, what I'm curious about is what happened to him in the second half against Hofstra, because he started the game with so much confidence. He shot the ball so well. He did what he does best. He drove it. He finished at the rim. And then he just kind of disappeared. I worry that he's afraid to drive the ball at the end of games because he doesn't want to get fouled. Because right now he's shooting 40% from the free throw line. That's what I'm worried about. I don't know if that's true or not, but that has to be a concern. That is what he does well, and he finishes well in there too. What do I think? He's not playing as much as he did last year. He's shooting. Everybody keeps complaining about he's not shooting it well, but I think he's shooting it better from the 3-point line than he has been. I mean, than he has been in seasons past. I mean, last year he really struggled to shoot it, but he's up to 33% or something like that from 3, which is better than he shot it last year, and maybe the best he shot it in his career at this point. So I don't know. I mean, it's too early, I guess, for me to say what I think about him. I just want him to be more confident, wanted him to be more confident in the second half and more assertive in the second half of that game against Hofstra.
It's funny you mentioned that JJ was hot at the start of the game, and Cayenne was hot in the second half, and we saw both times the hot player in the first half and the second half were taken out while they were doing it. Did you find that strange?
Well, I just saw that I'm always wondering about substitutions. I never really can figure out exactly why guys are coming out and why guys are not coming back in or what have you. I'm often puzzled by that. But I just think he missed a three. I just rewatched the game, and he missed a three, and he kind of fell backward on that shot. And I don't know if there was a concern, like maybe he did, maybe just needed a break. But then sometimes, he'll get a break, and he'll usually want to get him right back in there. He really was shooting the ball well and playing really well, and it took him a little while to get back in the game. So I don't know.
To your point about JJ shooting, he's 33% this year, career 30% three-point shooter, just a shade below. He's 29.8 on his career, 33% this year. Talking about shooting, you mentioned JJ doesn't want to get fouled. It doesn't seem like anybody on this team wants to get fouled. We had Jimmy Lee on a little bit earlier, and I said, can you fix free throws in season? What do you think? I mean, is this something that it seems like this team's just going to struggle with free throws all year long? But if you're Red and you're this coaching staff, what can you do at this point to make that better?
Well, interestingly to me, Nate George has gone to the line 16 times this year. He's played in 10 games and has gone to the line 16 times. He's 12 or 16, so he's a pretty good free throw shooter. Like, he needs to get to the line more. You need to get guys to the line more who are pretty good at shooting them, right? And to Will Kyle's credit, he's 9 of 15 in the last two games. So a guy who started really, really slowly and had a tough beginning of the year has somehow figured out with that unorthodox shooting motion, he's gotten a streak of a few games where he shot it pretty well, all things considered. Do I think guys can get better during the season? Maybe. I think the biggest thing that you have to do as a free throw shooter is you have to be confident it's going to go in. So changing your shooting motion in December, I'm not sure how much confidence guys can build up with the new shooting motion. But I guess if you're going to do it, now's the time to do it before you start getting into conference play. I don't know. I'm curious about what Jim said. What did Jimmy say?
He said that you absolutely can get better, and he talked about form, and coaches got to keep working on it with him, and it's repetition, and it's going back after practice. Like, if you don't get in your shots during practice, go back later in the day and get up 100 or 200 or whatever the case may be. It's it's repetition, and he believes it can be fixed, and I said that about a week ago on this show. I said they can't be this bad for the season,
but they are.
But they are, right? Exactly. So I don't know. I think I wrote something the other day about
maybe at this point you need to come up with an idea of how to get an offensive rebound from the outside position right on the because at this point I don't know, we're 10 games in and they're the worst free throw shooting team in America.
Yeah.
So even if they get a little bit better, even if they get better, they're still not going to be great at it. And you're surrendering so many points at the line.
Yeah, it's true. It's we said it's going to cost them. To this point, it's already probably cost them 2 games, right? The Houston game and the Hofstra game. So, in any event, Donna, great stuff as always. We appreciate you coming on. We'll see you inside the Dome tomorrow night.
All right.